Exec, el Exec, el Exec. El Vele, el Vele. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to episode 169 of the Exec Talk Podcast. I am your host, Alex Wassan. I got my shades. Guys, we have made it to championship weekend. We have made it. Now, was it how I exactly thought it would go? No. But the dynasty's still alive. They're still here. The Chiefs are still going for a three-peat. But we'll get into that. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me if you're new. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. Leave a comment. Follow me on all my socials. They're going to be in the links will be in the description. If you want to catch this on your way to your ride to work, I'm on podcast platforms as well for audio. If you can't watch the YouTube or don't have time and rather listen to it, got that too. My birthday is tomorrow, so when you get this, I will be 29. Blessed to see another year. Blessed for all the blessings that God has provided me in this past year. Moving in with my girlfriend and my future wife. Blessing me with this apartment. My family being healthy. New job opportunity, and allowing me to keep doing what I love, which is do this for you guys, and hopefully get back into music soon, and get merch and start streaming video games for you guys. So a lot of big things hopefully in this upcoming year, but this year that I'm leaving, the year 28, year of Adrian Peterson, AP, has been great, and I thank God for all the blessings that he has brought me this year, and for the ones that are many to come in the future. All right, so what are we going to talk about first? The first thing we're going to talk about is the NCAA Championship. Yes, we're going to work backwards, forwards. I mean, we're going to work from latest to from latest to earliest. Why? Because the NFL games were crazy, and they take a little bit more breaking down. The Ohio State game, I honestly thought it was going to be a blowout. And for the vast majority of the beginning of that game, it looked like it was going to be a blowout. Like it was, at one point, I believe it was either 21-7 or 24-7 heading into halftime. And Will Howard played great. Jeremiah Smith, he got his targets, but he didn't go off. He got a touchdown. First touchdown of the game was him. If I'm being honest, guys, it was a boring game. It was not particularly enjoyable, but it ended 34-23. And how did we get there was, it started off 7-0. Notre Dame took a 9-minute drive. Excuse me. A 9-minute drive in the first quarter, got the ball first and just ran with Riley Leonard 9 times, barely threw the ball, and they scored. And it was 7-0 with 5 minutes and 15 seconds left, and then it took Ohio State, from 5:15 left in the first quarter at 14:10 in the second quarter, Jeremiah Smith caught an 8-yard pass from Will Howard on a kind of orbit motion. it was supposed to be man-to-man, but they got confused, and he was, wide open. I mean, the best player on the field, and you leave him like that. It's just, you can't do that. And then Notre Dame couldn't do nothing no more. Holding penalty. I believe they got stopped. A running play got stopped. A passing play got stopped. They got another penalty, had the punt. Immediately right after that, Quinshon Judkins runs it in from 9 yards after getting a 75-yard run, I believe. I'll tell you guys right now, play by play. Riley Leonard. Here we go. Yeah, 3 plays, -5 yards, and then the touchdown is basically Emeka Egbuka run for 13 yards. Will Howard passes to Cardinal Tate for 15 yards. I mean, they're just moving the ball on him. You know, Travion Henderson didn't have that big of a game in this game. This was more Quinshon Judkins. He had 3 touchdowns. And then Quinshon Judkins ran it in from 9, so that made it 14-7. 3 plays again, 3 and out, 1 yard, punt. 12 plays, 80 yards, 21-7. This one is where Judkins took off? No, so Judkins caught a touchdown this time. So there's his second touchdown. And then end of half, right? End of half is 21-7. And I'm just like, I'm telling my dad, I'm telling my boys, I'm like, this is looking like it's going to be a blowout. They get the ball. Ohio State deferred. They get the ball in the second half. They're going to probably put up another touchdown. And they did, 28-7. 5 plays, 75 yards, like right out the gate. Will Howard tried to pass it to Jeremiah Smith on the first play. And then the second play from scrimmage out of the half, 70-yard run for Quinshon Judkins. First and goal, they take a timeout. And Quinshon Judkins runs it in for his third TD of the game with 13:58 left in the third. And it's 28-7. And then Notre Dame turns it over on downs on 4 plays. Ohio State gets a field goal, 31-7. It's looking like, bro, what are we doing? Like, this is another boring-ass BCS, college football championship. Like, you got to fix this, And then Notre Dame, figures it out, starts throwing the ball. I don't know why it took, I was dumbfounded by, the success they had throwing the ball in the second half when they were forced to, even though Riley Leonard is not that adept of passer, but he made some throws. And if they could have done that in the first half, then they would have a chance to actually win this game, because their defense they just stopped Notre Dame. They scored a touchdown. Riley Leonard passed to Jayden Greathouse. He broke a tackle and ran it in. And then Ohio State fumbled on I believe it was Emeka Egbuka. Yeah, Emeka Egbuka, he tried to turn it in, and as he was falling, he got hit from behind by Drake Bowen, and Kingston Viliamuasa recovered it. And then, but what happens? They go 12 plays, burn 5 minutes of clock in the third, and then they miss a field goal. And I'm talking about missing a field. I'm talking about a 27-yarder by Miss Jeter. Missed it. Hit it right off the left upright. Bing. And that would have made it 18-31, with some substantial time left, 9:27, and it would have been, a potential game. They force another punt from Ohio State. Ohio State can't get the ball moving. They score another touchdown. Now it's 31-23, 8-point game. So if they had scored the field goal, you're talking about a 5-point game. And then, Ohio State basically plays a little bit of possum. Basically, they run the ball for 3 yards with Quinshawn Judkins. Then Will Howard runs it for 8 yards. Will Howard runs it for no gain. Timeout Notre Dame. Will Howard runs it for a loss of 1. Timeout Notre Dame. And then Will Howard on 3rd and 11, 56 yards to Jeremiah Smith. They played him one-on-one. No, like I'm talking about 10 yards of cushion. Didn't press him. Didn't hit nothing. Like, it was like, all right, well, it's 3rd and 11. We think that you're just gonna try to run again and exhaust our timeout, and so we're just gonna leave the most dangerous weapon on this field one-on-one against a so-so corner, and he just ate up that cushion. Took a little bit, like, stem to the right on a fade ball, and just, Will Howard put it right on the money, and then that led to the basically the nail in the coffin, which was the field goal that made it 34-23. What I think about this game basically tells me, like, yo, if it's not an Alabama, if it's not a Texas, if it's not a legit program that has a legit recruiting class on the field that can compete with an Ohio State, like they went through Oregon, they went through Texas, like they just whooped people, and they went through Tennessee, all had NFL players and stacked up. And, Ryan Day, after that Michigan loss, he swallowed his pride, took the death threats on the chin, and then, got it done. Joined Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer and all the legendary coaches of Ohio State that have national championships, and he joins that club now. Do I think that the playoff will be better next year? Yeah, if they change. Unfortunately, we saw this year that just allowing whoever plays the best against whatever their schedule is, if you're an undefeated team and, you played against no schedule, we clearly saw that that's not very entertaining. Those teams got blown the fuck out the first round. So, and in the second round as well, the best game was the Arizona State Texas game. Was the best game. Everybody else was kind of I wouldn't say non-competitive, but you knew who's going to win. It wasn't really in doubt. But Ohio State win another national championship. It hadn't happened since Urban Meyer won with Zeke Elliott and Cardale Jones and that gang. Did I expect this? Yeah, at some point, once they started rolling and Jeremiah Smith was unstoppable and they used him as a decoy against Texas. So they would just focus on him and they hit Emeka Egbuka and Cardell Tate, and then Travion Henderson went off. Yeah, and then that defense is insane with Jack Sawyer and Simon and Caleb Downs and JTT. So, shout out to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Shout out to Will Howard. Probably made himself some money in this draft season. Maybe gets picked maybe in the 4th round, maybe in the 3rd round. But like for the quarterback of the national championship team to be getting no draft hype at all just speaks to like he really, this season wasn't really all that, like it wasn't. There wasn't, it was said from the beginning, there was not an elite class of quarterbacks in this class. And it's just, it's evident by just seeing Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders going to be the only probably 1st-round quarterbacks in this bunch. Although Jalen Milroe to me is a wild card, and I would take a chance on him. He's just a more athletic, more faster Jalen Hurts with a deep ball. Just got to, wire in his mechanics a little bit. I think that's possible, but I don't know who would take a risk on him if they consider it a risk. But shout out to Ohio State. It was a good college football season. The season was, definitely exciting. The college football playoff, I think, left much to be desired. Hopefully they start tweaking it little by little. And as the NIL ruling comes down about revenue share and throughout the schools and stuff like that, we'll see if it gets parodied a little bit more. But Ohio State, Notre Dame, Ohio State was going to win. We just didn't know if it was going to be a blowout or a good game. Turned out to be an okay game, especially at the end. It turned out to be exciting, but I think Marcus Freeman is just going to kick himself for not allowing Riley Leonard to just throw the ball more often, because they were getting open and they were making stuff happen after the catch. They couldn't run the ball worth a shit after the first drive. They couldn't run the ball with the running backs at all. Jeremiah Love couldn't run the ball. Price couldn't run the ball. So that didn't work either. But it was okay. It was an okay game. All right, let's get to the NFL. Before we get to the games, Ben Johnson got hired as the Bears' new head coach. So Caleb has his new offensive coach that he was desiring. And the Jets hire Aaron Glenn. So another defensive coach for a team that desperately needs somebody that's offensively non-inept and adept. But, that's poverty franchises and, doo-doo, garbage, mistache, just dumpster fire franchises are going to keep making mistakes because it starts from, Woody Johnson, the owner. So I didn't expect them to get it right. And, I like Aaron Glenn as a defensive coach, but as a head coach and to pick an offensive staff, I don't know. What are you going to do with Aaron? Are you going to go after a Sam Darnold? Or what are you going to do at quarterback? So, it's going to be very interesting. All right. Let's get to and then for Ben Johnson, he better just go in there and just establish his own culture. Don't let the ownership, don't let, if the GM is, screwing shit up, attack the draft as an offensive coach, get yourself an offensive line. You already have receivers. You already have your quarterback. You have a good defense. Attack the draft as an offensive coach. You focused in the trenches. You had a good a good offensive line, a great offensive line in Detroit. So you know what you need for success. Leave the trick plays alone for now, and just attack the job as if you run the team, but you're not listening to ownership because they're steering you. They've been steering this franchise the wrong way for going on 40 years. Okay, so so that's my 2 cents for Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. All right. Chiefs Texans 23-14 Chiefs. Before we get to people complaining about the roughing the passer call, about the late slide, listen, that was all in the first half. Let's get that out of the way. Yes, one led the points. I understand. But you as the Texans, you have not fixed your main problem for the last 3 years. You have CJ, and you have not surrounded him with the one thing that every quarterback needs to be successful, and that is a legit offensive line. This man got sacked 8 times. 8. 3 by George Karlaftis. Like, 1 by Chris Jones. Like, why does that have to happen? 8 times. You don't have Stephon Diggs. You don't have Tank Dell. Yes, you have Joe Mixon. You have Nico Collins. And then you put Xavier Hutchinson and, Mechie and Robert Woods and Dalton Schultz. And that's it. But you can't protect him. 8 sacks. On top of the 8 sacks, horrible special teams. Kaimi Fairbairn missing extra points, missing field goals. You're not gonna win against the 2-time defending champs making mistakes like that. It's just not gonna happen. CJ went 19 for 28, 245, no touchdowns, no picks, 8 sacks for 58 yards, 65.7 QBR, a 95.1 rating. Joe Mixon went 18 for 88 on the ground and a touchdown. CJ went 6 for 42 on the ground. Nico went 5 for 81 through the air on 8 targets. Dalton went 4 for 63 on 4 targets. Xavier Hutchinson went 4 for 52 on 6 targets. Mechie went 2 for 35 on 2 targets. CJ fumbled, but he didn't lose it. Shaq Mason recovered it. It was on a strip sack. Their defense gave him 3 sacks, one by Tommy Togiai, and then 2 by Will Anderson. No interceptions. It just wasn't a good showing. But you're not going to have a good showing because you don't have 2 of your best weapons. You don't have no Tank Dell. You have no Stephon Diggs. So you had to be absolutely perfect. And on special teams, you were horrendous. The first kickoff, you allowed them to take it 63 yards into your territory. You held them to 3 points, which is good, but still you're starting off on the wrong foot. And then the missing field goals is just it's not what you want, 2 for 4 on field goals, from Kaimi Fairbairn. You knew this was going to happen. It's at Arrowhead. And when we look at Mahomes went 16 for 25, 177, 1 touchdown, no picks, 3 sacks, 15 yards, 66.3 QBR, a 98.2 rating. Kareem Hunt went 8 for 44 and a touchdown on the ground. Isaiah Pacheco 5 for 18. He was a non-factor. They ran the ball 22 times for 50 yards, 2.3 yards a carry, nothing. This wasn't spectacular. The only person that you allowed to beat you was the first ballot Hall of Famer and the greatest tight end of all time. 7 catches, 117 yards for Travis and a touchdown on a 45-degree angle pass by Patrick, who just doing insane stuff as usual, and we just brushing it off because it's Patrick. But it was insane how he got it. Travis on 8 targets got the 7 receptions. He had a long of 49 where he broke a tackle and almost got into the end zone, got tackled at at the 5. Xavier Worthy went 5 for 45, 1 big play on 6 targets. The big play was for 21 yards. Beautiful catch by him. Noah Gray went 3 for 13 on 3 targets. It was nothing. 16 passes for 177 yards, guys. This is not explosive. This is just good situational football. Great defense. Patrick Mahomes fumbled, but he recovered it. Remigio, the kick returner, he fumbled. He recovered it. Samaje Perine recovered it. So they didn't lose no fumbles. And then their defense gave them 8 sacks. 8. You're talking about sacks by Chamari Connor on a blitz, Charles Omenihu, Chris Jones, Felix Anike-Uzoma, Tershawn Wharton, and then 3 by George Karlaftis. He was a beast this game. That's why they drafted him. No interceptions. It wasn't crazy, guys, even though Harrison Buckner went 3 for 3 on field goals, which is important. But it was a long of 36. It wasn't There was no pizzazz, besides that pass. Like, it was just the Chiefs being situationally better, taking advantage of whatever mistake that was made on the other side, and just 23-14. That's it. They got the lead at half. It was guys, 7-3 at half. They had the lead. The Texans scored 6. I mean, not 7-3. My bad, guys. My bad. It was 13-6 at half. Then the Texans scored 6 in the third, 0 for the Chiefs. So it's 12-13 because they missed the extra point. And then the Texans scored 2 because to run out the clock, instead of punting it, they ran out the end zone, got a safety. And then the Chiefs scored 10 in the fourth quarter, 23-14. And that's it. Chiefs are going to the AFC Championship game for the 7th year in a row. That is the minimum that Patrick Mahomes has reached since he started being the starting quarterback. AFC Championship, 7 years in a row. What was the other guy to do that? Oh, yeah, Brady. That was the other guy to do that. That's it. He's second all time in wins in the playoffs. The Travis has the most receptions all time in playoff history. He's 2 touchdowns away from breaking Jerry's record for touchdowns in playoff history. He has 20. And then he needs 200 and something yards to pass Jerry in all-time playoff receiving yards. Like, what else could you want? And then still in the divisional round, Patrick is undefeated and has not committed 1 turnover in 7 years. Like, you just when another team is playing, they know they're gonna win because they expect to be here and they prepare for this in the off season and training camp, and they go through situational drills just like the Patriots used to do. If you're not perfect, you're not gonna, especially with a wounded team like you guys had, and a horrible offensive line. These teams both had iffy offensive lines because of the tackles for Kansas City. As for the Texans, it's just Laramie Tunsil. Everybody else is a liability and a half. But, shout out to Kansas City going to the AFC Championship game one more time. One more time. The three-peat is still alive. All right, let's get to a game that we can actually gush about and talk about, guys. Washington Commanders, 45. Detroit, number 1 seeded home Lions. At home, 31. 5 forced turnovers by the Washington Commanders. And Jayden Daniels has officially stamped himself as the greatest rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League. You heard me right. Period. He becomes the 6th quarterback ever to take his rookie campaign to the championship round. Nobody's taking it to the Super Bowl round. We'll see that this Sunday if he can do that against the Eagles. But the way this game was played would have been back and forth if it wasn't for the turnovers. Okay? He put 45 on a very hurt defense. If Aiden Hutchinson was here, it would have been different. And Malcolm Rodriguez and Amik Robertson, he got hurt first quarter, shoulder. He was out. Carlton Davis was not on here. So I'm not giving the Lions excuses, but the 5 turnovers that the Washington Commanders forced, let's start with Jayden. 22 of 31, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks, 91.8 QBR, a 122.9 rating. Brian Robinson went 15 for 77 and 2 touchdowns. Jayden Daniels went 16 for 51 on the ground. So over 300 yards of total offense. Austin Eckler went 6 for 47. He was big in the latter stages of the game. They ran the ball 42 times for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. So very nice running by Cliff. They only passed the ball 31 times. De'Ami Brown went 6 for 98. He was the leading receiver on 8 targets. He showed out. Terry went 4 for 87 and a long of 58. No, a long of 70. Why is it? Was it 58? Yeah, it was 58. It was a screen pass. Brian Branch tried to like split the bunch, but the bunch was out wide. So he tried to split the bunch in the run to have a run fit. So like basically in the middle, but then he blitzed. As soon as he blitzed, Jayden recognized it, shot the screen pass out, had the numbers, 2 blocks, De'Ami Brown and forgot the other receiver that blocked out there. Might have been Jamison Crowder or Olamide Zaccheaus, or maybe even Zach Ertz. I forgot who blocked out there, but De'Ami was one of them. Blocked, he split it, broke the tackle, and he was gone. And that was a touchdown. Zach Ertz went 5 for 28 on 5 targets. Eckler went 4 for 41 on 4 targets. So he spread the ball around. De'Ami Brown fumbled. Frankie, but it wasn't. He didn't lose it. Frankie Louvu recovered a fumble on a sack. And then their defense gave them 2 sacks, both by Dorrance Armstrong. And they got 4 picks. 2 by Mikey Sanderstill. The first one was on a deep post by Jameson Williams. And Jared Goff just underthrew it. And Mikey just underthrew it in the end zone. And Mikey just like stepped in front of it, picked it off. Then the next one is Quan Martin. He ran it back for a touchdown. 40 yards because Jared Goff decided to throw it into a team meeting, overthrew it, and, tips and overthrows, got to get those, took it to the crib. Jeremy Chin got the last one. He ended the game. And then Mikey on a trick play by Ben Johnson where he got cute and got Jameson Williams with the ball to throw it back to, it might have been Laporta or Amon-Ra, and then Mikey got in front of it and picked it off. Detroit got too cute. Detroit got like way too cute this game with trick plays. Some of them worked, and then some of them he should have kept. He should have kept in the bag. Okay, he should have kept in the bag for the Bears. Because when the game is this high intensity, this high stakes at your house, do the plays that are going to get you the win. Don't feel desperate to, impress Tom Brady, who was on the call, or show that you super smart. We've already seen your trick bag. You can keep some of those in there. Do plays that'll get you first downs and touchdowns. And for the most part, he did. But some of them, Jared Goff had a bad outing. I mean, he threw another 4 picks. Unfortunately, he's shit down his leg again. Washington was the one going for the 4th downs, and they converted except that first one in the first quarter. After that, they converted every other one. And Jayden Daniels just picked them apart. Man, zone, knows when to run, knows where to throw the ball. And all his receivers caught the ball. He throws a beautiful ball, threw a beautiful deep ball to De'Ami Brown on a corner. Through the screen pass to Terry that he took it to the crib. Got Zach Ertz involved. Just kind of never let his foot off the gas, and that's what you got to do. Cliff Dan Quinn, everybody did a really good job. Jared Goff, 23 for 40, 313, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 2 sacks for 16 yards, 41.5 QBR, a 59.7 rating. Okay? Montgomery threw a pass for 20 yards. He completed that. Bridgewater threw a pass for 3 yards because Jared Goff, when he threw the pick 6, got blown up. If you're a quarterback, you throw a pick 6, don't try to be a hero and go get the tackle, because a D lineman can absolutely blow you up. You're going to go into the medical tent and possibly you throw, 3 more picks after that. Or 2 more picks after that, because your head is all fuzzy the rest of the game, you know? Not a good idea. He got blown up. I'm not talking about boom, hit his head and everything. No flag. And then Jamison Williams threw the interception. They threw the ball 43 times as a team. Jared Goff threw 40 of them. Ran the ball 23 times. Jahmyr Gibbs had 14 carries for 105 and 2 touchdowns, so Jahmyr was doing his thing. Jamison Williams, on another trick play with Teddy Bridgewater in, he runs it in for a touchdown, 61 yards. And then David Montgomery was 7 for 28. And then Amon-Ra went 8 for 137 on 10 targets. Jahmyr went 6 for 70 on 11 targets. Laporta went 6 for 51 on 7 targets. Khalif Raymond 3 for 37 on 3 targets. Tim Patrick 1 for 22 on 4 targets. And Jamison Williams 1 for 19 on 4 targets. Jared Goff lost a fumble as well on a sack. He got hit by, was it Dorrance Armstrong? Because Dorrance Armstrong had the, yeah. And then was picked up by Frankie Louvu. And then they got 0 sacks from the defense, 0 interceptions, couldn't do nothing. They scored 31 points, but in reality, because of the turnovers, they couldn't stop Washington. And Jayden Daniels played his ass off, and that defense played its ass off. But when you give teams chances, and we're going to see this in the Ravens game, in the playoffs, you're gonna pay double for it. And that's what happened. If we go to a play-by-play, because there was a couple 4th downs in this game. The first drive for Washington was a turnover on downs. But after that, they had a 4th down. Let me see if their second drive had a 4th down. Let's see. No, they were just converting on third down. Third drive. Yeah, 4th and 3, Detroit at the Detroit 9. He throws Jayden Daniels pass short in the middle to Zach Ertz for 7 yards, first down, right there, boom, on 4th down. Then you go to their 4th. No, this is the Terry McLaurin. This took like 5 plays. Then we go to the 5th. 3rd and goal. Detroit 5. Zach Ertz touchdown. End of the half. Then they punt for the only time in the game at the beginning of the third quarter. And then the next touchdown drive, 3rd and 1, 4th and 2, timeout. 4th and 2 from the Detroit 16. Daniels ran the QB for 3, ran it right for 3 yards. Boom, picked it up. Then 4th and 2 from the Detroit 5. Same drive, end of the 3rd quarter. So this is already in the 4th. 4th and 2 for the Detroit 5. Penalty. Too many people on the field. Dan Campbell. Too many people on the field on a 4th and 2 on the defense. Boom, they get that first down. On 2nd and goal, Brian Robinson up the middle, touchdown. That made it 38 Let me see here. 38-28. Another interception by Goff. Or no, this might have been the Jameson Williams. Yeah. Interception, a dumb pass, Jameson Williams. It's a 10-point game. It's still in the balance, but that interception happened. And then another touchdown drive where they 4th and 2. Detroit 13. Short pass to the right to Terry McLaurin. 12 yards. First down. What happens next? Another touchdown. Jerry McMinicals up the middle. That was 41-31. 40. That was 45-28. Field goal by Detroit. A missed field goal by Washington. Still 45-31. And another interception by Goff with 2 minutes left to Jeremy Chin. And that's it. And that was the end of the game right there. And with that, the Detroit Lions went 1 and done in the playoffs as a 1 seed, a 15-win 1 seed at home to a rookie quarterback that has one weapon, a receiver in De'Ami Brown who's starting to up his level finally after being drafted in the 2nd round out of North Carolina. A so-so offensive line that lost their best offensive lineman, Sam Cosmi, to a torn ACL in middle of the game. And a defense that was mid-pack all year. And you got 45 put on you. Now, there was a lot of injuries on that Detroit defensive side, but that's no excuse because the turnovers is what made this game what it was. And Jayden Daniels being absolutely excellent. So, when you're facing a kid like that knows no fear, is poised beyond his years, and is going to deliver the ball or do what he needs to do with the ball every single time, the right thing that he needs to do, you're going to pay. And they did. 45-31. Detroit going home. What happened? Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn gone. What is Dan Campbell going to do? What is Dan Campbell going to do? Both of his coordinators are gone. They're both head coaches now. One is in his own division, his offensive coordinator, and Ben Johnson went to the Bears. So, we'll see. We'll see how Detroit thinks of next year. Is Jared Goff the answer? Or are they going a different direction? If so, who? If not, you're re-racking this again. Drafting who you can in the draft and then going at it again. But shout out to the Commanders, man. 1 year is all it took. Just like CJ Stroud last year. 1 year is all it took. And this is more dramatic because this team has been in the dumpster fires for like 20 to 35 years. Okay? Like, it's... When they were the Redskins, it was bad. It was a dumpster fire because of Dan Snyder. But now with, Gary Harris and Magic Johnson, and the new ownership and the new GM and the new blood in there and people making the right decisions, and Dan Quinn, a former head coach that took an Atlanta team to the Super Bowl, and led a really good Dallas defense the last few years. That's maturity. Cliff Kingsbury, a great offensive coordinator, that former head coach, knows what to do with mobile quarterbacks, has done it with Caleb, did it with Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's what you need. And then the wherewithal to know that Jayden Daniels was the best quarterback in this past draft, even though everybody was like, Caleb. I always thought Jayden was the best. Jayden won the Heisman. Caleb won the Heisman the year before. But the numbers went the same. Jayden did it in the SEC. 40 touchdowns. Less than 6 interceptions. 4,000 yards. Like, it was not There was no competing, with that. And then the rushing part of it. So, shout out to the Commanders. Eagles, Rams, 28-22. Woo! Where do we start here? Well, we can start by, if the Eagles don't pass the ball, they're not winning a Super Bowl. If they are incapable of sustaining a passing offense, they can't win the Super Bowl. Because if they face either Buffalo or the Bill or the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and that's if they beat the Commanders, the best quarterback in the matchup of Eagles versus Commanders is Jayden Daniels, bar none, especially passing the ball. But they do have the best offensive line left in the playoffs and the best offensive line in football. Matthew Stafford threw the ball 44 times. He went 26 for 44, 324, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 5 sacks for 33 yards, 47.8 QBR, a 97.2 rating. Kyren Williams went 19 for 106, so they could run the ball. They ran the ball 21 times for 111, 5.3 yards a carry as a team. Puka Nacua went 6 for 97 on 14 targets. Demarcus Robinson went 3 for 74 on 7 targets. Cooper Kupp went 5 for 61 on 7 targets. Tyler Higbee went 7 for 54 on 10 targets and a touchdown. Colby Parkinson caught the other touchdown, 2 for 9 on 2 targets. Stafford fumbled twice, lost 1. Big fumble caused by Nolan Smith Jr. Kyren Williams fumbled the ball, and that was the one that basically broke the camel's back, even though they tried to come back in the end, but Jalen Carter took care of that drive. And then their defense gave them 7 sacks. So they got to Jalen Hurts. Granted, Jalen Hurts got hurt, I think in the third quarter, his knee. So he couldn't move well, or late third quarter, if not in the fourth. He couldn't move well, but they sacked him. They got after him. Kobe Turner got a sack. Omar Spates got a sack. 2 by Jared Verse. 1 by Jalen McCullough. 1 by Neville Gallimore. 1 by Braden Fisk. And then he got hurt. And then, it was basically like, oh, this young D-line has a chance to like disrupt this passing attack, which was non-existent. But could they disrupt the running attack of Saquon? And no, they could not, unfortunately, even with 7 sacks. They got no picks. Jalen Hurts went 15 for 20, 128, no touchdowns, no picks, 7 sacks for 63 yards, 49.5 QBR, 91.1 rating, 91.2 rating. Saquon went 26 carries for 205 and 2 TDs. He went for 255 in the regular season. He went for 205 and another 2 TDs this time. He had 2 more TDs over 60-plus yards. The first one was 64, and then the next one was 78 with 4 minutes left in the game, and that ended the game. And you thought it ended the game, and then Stafford did one of those Stafford drives, scored. They stopped him. They stopped the Eagles, and then he tried to come back and score, but Jalen Carter sacked him, and then on 4th down, he kind of threw it away going to Puka, and that's how the game ended. Jalen Hurts ran 7 times for 70 yards. He had a 44-yarder that opened up the game, touchdown. Dallas Goedert was the leading receiver, 4 for 56 on 4 targets. Saquon went 4 for 27 on 4 targets. Devontae Smith went 4 for 21 on 4 targets. A.J. Brown on 7 targets went 2 for 14. He dropped a couple, like bad drops. And then sometimes the ball wasn't even close. And then Kenneth Gainwell went 1 for 10 on 1 target. Jalen Hurts fumbled but didn't lose it. Cooper DeJean fumbled and recovered it. Kenneth Gainwell recovered Jalen Hurts' fumble. Zach Bond recovered a fumble. And Isaiah Rodgers recovered a fumble. And then their defense gave them 5 sacks, but they were really important. Like, you got 2 by Jalen Carter, including that one on 3rd and 10 that he went up the middle because the rookie center turned the wrong way and just let him go. And he just destroyed Stafford on 3rd and 10 and left him with a 4th and 16 for the game, basically. And then you had Moro Ojomo with a sack, Nolan Smith Jr. with a sack, and that caused a fumble. And Jalix Hunt with a sack, the rookie, as well. No interceptions. It was 28-22, but how we got there was the interesting thing, because you get touchdown by Philly on the Jalen Hurts 44-yarder. Then you get immediately touchdown by the Rams, but they missed the extra point, 7-6. Then you go punt Philly, punt Rams, 2 3-and-outs back to back. Then a touchdown by Philly with Saquon taking it 62 yards on 3 plays. Then you get a field goal by the Rams. This is all in the first half. You get a field goal by the Rams on 6 plays, and it's 10-13. Then you get a punt by Philly after an 8-play drive that only covered 18 yards. Then you get a punt by LA and end a half. And then in the third, 3-and-out by the Rams, 3-and-out by Philly. Field goal by the Rams, 13-13. Field goal by Philly. Punt by the Rams. Safety. They cause a safety. So now it's field goal by Philly, punt by the Rams, and then the Rams force a safety on Philly, 15-16. Fumble by Kyron Williams, that leads to a field goal, 15-19. Fumble again, this time by Stafford on the sack. It leads to another field goal. Then it's 15-22. Then a 3-and-out, and then comes the first play. Saquon Barkley, 78-yard off the left side, just takes off and knows that he basically won it. So then it's 28-15, and what happens? With 1:48 left, because Saquon scores with 4:36 left. On 10 plays, Stafford throws the Colby Parkinson's with 2:48 left to make it 22-28. They force a 3-and-out by the Eagles. And then LA goes 10 plays, 60 yards with 2 minutes and 23 seconds left. And on 3rd and 2, Nolan Smith goes up the middle, sacks for 9 yards. 4th and 11, Stafford can't find nobody, throws it out of bounds, and the game is over. So the Eagles came this close to losing, even though they got 205 yards from Saquon. What that tells me is you can't do that against the Commanders. You can't punt 3-and-out, because unless your defense it's really good, and Jalen Carter is an absolute monster, and I think behind Chris Jones, I think he's the best D tackle in the league. I don't know if you guys can keep up with how good this kid is playing. You're not going to fluster him. He already beat you guys. He put some points on you as well. So I think that, you guys should watch yourselves if you're Eagles. It's at the link. You guys are hosting to try to go to the Super Bowl again, to either face Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes one more time. For the third time, for the second time in 3 years, you're in the NFC Championship game. So I understand that you guys think that with Saquon everything is possible, and I believe it too, especially against that D line of the Commanders, especially on the edges. But you never know, man. This kid is playing so well. Jayden is playing so well, man. And your quarterback is hurt now. So we'll see how the knee reacts to treatment this week and see how he is. Because if he can't move or do the tush push, even though he's going to push through it, it's Jaylen. But, I think it's going to be a really good game. As for the Rams, I think let this defensive line keep developing. You need linebackers and you need corners and safeties. You also need some offensive linemen. I don't know if you're going to trade Cooper Kupp. It seems like he's really not part of the game plan as of this moment, this whole season. Look at his numbers, career lows. So if you are going to get rid of him, you need another, receiver. McVay is still McVay. I like Shula. Chris Shula is doing a good job as a defensive coordinator with that young defense. But you guys are always going to be a threat. You just gotta add pieces to the puzzle. And finally, the surprise. This was a 1-point spread, so I'm not saying a surprise as in oh my God, I can't believe Buffalo won. More like a surprise of how it happened. In the playoffs, if it's an even matched game or you are the better team, the only way that other team is going to even the match, regardless if they're close or far away, is if you give them more possessions than you get, giving the ball away. And when you give the Buffalo Bills three takeaways and you get none, that's where your problem is. And that's what happened. 27-25. A 2-point conversion drop by Mark Andrews away from tying it and going to overtime and possibly just running it with Derrick Henry to the end zone. Lamar, 18 of 25, 254, 2 touchdowns and a pick. A horrible pick. I don't even know why he threw that, even though Rashad Bateman stopped, but you're not supposed to throw that. Throw that shit away. 2 sacks for 14 yards, 85.8 QBR, 114.4 rating. Threw the ball 25 times. They ran the ball 30 times. Derrick Henry got 16 carries. Anytime that he doesn't get 20 carries, their propensity to lose. If he gets 20 carries, they're usually undefeated. So that was a mistake by John Harbaugh. Once again, not running enough in a critical playoff game. It kind of seems like a broken record at this point. I don't know why they have the propensity to do this. Derrick Henry really started picking up steam in the second half. They couldn't stop him in the third. They should have just kept going with that strategy. I'm sure that they would have been fine. But he went 16 for 84 and a touchdown, a long of 17. Lamar went 6 for 39 on the ground. Justice Hill went 6 for 50 on the ground. They ran for 5.9 yards a carry, 20 carries for 176. I don't understand why they couldn't keep running the ball. Isaiah Likely went 4 for 73 and a touchdown through catching on 5 targets. Rashad Bateman 4 for 66 and a touchdown, along of 42 on 5 targets. Mark Andrews 5 for 61 on 7 targets. Derrick Henry had a giant drop on 2 targets. So one of those targets, he had a giant. He was wide open. He could have grabbed it and got up to speed and probably gotten a lot of yards or even a touchdown. And and then Mark Andrews dropped, the 2-point conversion, and also had a gigantic fumble that he should have just gone down. He had the first down. It was on a third down. He just should have gone down. He didn't. He tried to make a move, and he got it punched out. They went for it, a 2-point conversion. They went for it because Justin Tucker missed an extra point, missed it, and Milano batted it down with Isaiah Likely open, so they had to go for it for 2 to try to tie the game later, and that's when the drop happened. It was snowing. It was snowing in Philly. These were 2 snow globe games, cold. Mark Andrews had a fumble. He lost it. That's the one. And then Lamar Jackson, after the pick that didn't lead to points, they stopped him, gets a bad snap, hits his hand. He grabs it, gets hit, tries to spin out of it, and loses the football. Von Miller picks it up, takes it all the way into like inside the 10 or inside the 15, and right before half. And that made it a much tougher climb in the second half. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they could not play up to the level that they had been playing all year, and Lamar couldn't play to the level that he had been playing all year, and Mark Andrews in the biggest moment to try to go to an AFC Championship game. Their defense only gave him 1 sack, half by Kyle Van Noy, half by Nnamdi Madubuike. No picks, so they didn't force no turnovers. And then as for Josh Allen, he didn't do much either. He went 16 for 22, 127, no touchdowns, no picks, 1 sack for 1 yard, 71.1 QBR, 86.7 rating. James Cook went 17 for 67. Ty Johnson went 5 for 31 on the ground. Ray Davis 4 for 29 and a touchdown. Josh Allen 10 carries for 20 yards and 2 touchdowns. Basically 2 QB sneaks for those touchdowns. Khalil Shakir went 6 for 67, catching the ball, 7 targets. James Cook 3 for 15. Like, nobody did nothing on this Buffalo. But Von Miller picked up that fumble, took it back. That led to a Josh Allen little run-in. And then Terrell Bernard caused the fumble punched out the fumble on Mark and recovered it. And that basically stopped the momentum that Baltimore had it going in the third quarter, just demolishing them and coming back and looking like they were going to – because Buffalo couldn't stop them. It got to a point in the third quarter where Buffalo could not stop their running game, could not stop the passing game, and that fumble really just changed the momentum of everything. Their defense got 2 sacks, one by DeMar Hamlin on a blitz and one by Greg Rousseau. Taylor Rapp with that interception that didn't lead to anything, but Lamar shouldn't have thrown it. And that's pretty much it, guys. Like, Josh Allen versus Mahomes is what we got again in the AFC Championship game, except it's going to be at Arrowhead this time. It's not going to be in Buffalo. That's, I'm not going to give you a prediction today. I'm going to give you a prediction in the next episode, so I'll probably record it. I'm thinking either tomorrow to put it up Friday or Friday to put it up on Saturday, since tomorrow's my birthday. I don't know if I'm doing something tomorrow or doing something Friday, so based on that, I'll let you guys know for my picks. But we got Commanders, Eagles, so division matchup, and then we have old reliable Chiefs, Bills at Arrowhead, and then the Eagles are going to be at the Link. 3 more games left, guys. 2 championship games and the Super Bowl, and we're done with the NFL football season for 2024. NBA, the standings as they stand right now, Cleveland's still up 6.5 up over Boston. NY is playing well. They're only 2 games behind Boston, so they're within striking distance for that 2 seed. Milwaukee's 4. 11.5 back. Fifth is Indiana, 12.5 back. Atlanta's 14 back. They're sixth. Detroit, 14.5 back. They're seventh. Orlando has dropped, even with Paulo back. That's interesting. 14.5 back. Miami's ninth, 15 back. They just suspended Jimmy again for 2 more games because he missed a flight. He wants out of there, bro. He's not. He doesn't want to play here no more. Just let's get something for him and get rid of him at this point. He's being a distraction. Chicago, 18 back at 10. 76ers 21 back at 11. Brooklyn 23 back at 12, and then Charlotte's 23.5, which I guess they can get to Brooklyn, and then Toronto's 25.5 back. And then Washington's 30 back. That's awful. In the West, OKC has a 7-game lead on Houston. Memphis is 7.5, so a half game back of Houston for that 2 seed. Denver's 8.5 back at 4. Clippers are 11 games back at 5. Lakers are 11.5 games back at 6. Dallas is 12.5 games back at 7. Sacramento battled their way up into the play-in, 13 back. Minnesota's 9 back. Minnesota's at 9, 13.5 back. And then Phoenix is at 10, 14 back. And Golden State is also 14 back on the outside looking in at 11. And then 12 is San Antonio, 15.5 back. And then Portland is out of it. Basically, New Orleans out of it at 24 back. And then Utah's out of it, 24.5 back. The stats as they looking right now, SGA is now leading the league in points per game, 31.5. Giannis is also at 31.5. Jokic is at 30.1. Lonzo's at 29.3. And Tatum is at 27.5. Trae Young is at 11.7 assists. Jokic is at 9.9. Cade Cunningham, who has been balling, 9.3. LeBron's at 9. And Tyrese Halliburton's at 8.8. 3-pointers made per game, 4.4 by Steph. Lonzo at 4.3. Ant at 4.2. Tyler Hero at 3.9 and Brandon Miller at 3.9. Defensive rebounding leaders. Sabonis took over for Cat, 14.2 for Sabonis, 13.9 for Cat. Jokic is at 13.2. Then it's Zubac and Giannis at 12.7 and 12 respectively. Blocks is still Wemby, 4 blocks a game. 2.5 blocks better than or 1.5 block better than Walker Kessler at 2.5, Anthony Davis at 2.2, Miles Turner at 2, and Brook Lopez at 1.9. And Dyson Daniels 3.1 steals a game is 1 better than SGA at 2.1. Tyrese Maxey's at 2, Nikola Jokic at 1.9, and Van Fleet at 1.8. Lastly, the last thing that we got to talk about is the Hall of Fame for the MLB. It came out yesterday, and the inductees were Ichiro, 1 vote shy of unanimous. Of course, we knew Ichiro was going to make it. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest hitters in the history of the game. If you combine his Japanese league career and his major league career, he surpasses Pete Rose for the most hits in baseball history. Just a consummate professional. The Mariners legend. On August 9th, his number 51 will be retired at the Mariners. And, you know, first ballot Hall of Famer, well-deserved. Another first ballot, CC Sabathia, 3,000 strikeouts, 300 wins, ALCS MVP, World Series champion with the 2009 Yankees, another consummate professional that just threw gas and struck people out. Well-deserved first ballot Hall of Famer CC. And then on his 5th and last attempt to get into the Hall of Fame, Billy Wagner, one of the best closers of all time, with an ERA plus of in his last season of like 2.13, to put with a stellar closing career. Finally gets in, also well-deserved. And that's it. The baseball only puts in whoever they vote in. You need 75%. The next closest was Andrew Jones, unfortunately. So hopefully he gets in next year. A-Rod is probably not going to get in. He was up this year. And of course, everybody else, all the big hitters of the PED era are probably still not going to get in, including Pete Rose, even though he passed away. A lot of people got like very little votes. Brian McCann, Torrey Hunter, very, less than 10% of the vote, which they can fall off of ballots, and that'd be sad, but it is what it is. But shout out to Ichiro, CeCe, and Billy Wagner on their Hall of Fame baseball nods. All right, guys. I love you guys. You guys will see me tomorrow. I turn 29. Wish me happy birthday on social media and in the comments and everything. I love you guys. God bless. And leave you all with the outro.
El exec, el exec, el exec.